Gazprom's headquarters and Yulia Popova in Kiev. Good evening to you both this evening. Leah, if I can come to you first, what is the most recent statement then tonight from Gazprom?
Well, Gazprom spokesman Sergei Kupriyanov talked to us around 6 o'clock this evening, and he was trying to allay fears that a new gas war was looming, and he said that any dispute between Russia and Ukraine would not affect the gas supplies to Europe.
We have a contract for transporting gas via Ukraine's territory, and Ukraine should fulfill its obligations under this contract, regardless of whether Naftogaz reaches an agreement with Rosukreenergo about gas supplies to Ukraine or not. These are two different contracts, two different subjects, and we should try not to confuse them. Obligations under our transit contracts should be fulfilled. Gazprom will supply all the gas that is for our consumers in Europe, and we expect Ukraine's Naftogaz to fulfill their part of the deal. Gazprom will do everything necessary to ensure that our consumers in Europe receive all the gas they should receive.
But this recent dispute does evoke memories of the damaging dispute back in 2006 between Russia and Ukraine, which did in fact see a reduction of gas supplies to Europe. But as we've just heard from Gazprom's spokesman, he will do everything he can to ensure that European gas supplies will not be affected this time round.
Kelly, I'd like to bring in Yulia now. What reaction has there been tonight from Kiev then?
Although President Yushchenko called for the negotiations to settle and the gas war to be avoided at all costs, it seems that the gas giants continue dealing blows at each other. Ukrainian Naftogaz acknowledges the debt, however refuses to name the figure. There has been no immediate reaction from Naftogaz officials in response to the latest statement from Gazprom. However, we do expect that Prime Minister Tymoshenko will announce its next move, the country's next move at the Cabinet of Ministers tomorrow morning. So for the time being, Ukraine's latest words on the scandal was a threat to reduce gas supplies to Europe in case Ukraine's energy security will be at risk.
Naftogaz Ukraine will try its best not to interrupt gas supplies to European consumers despite Gazprom's actions, as long as it doesn't endanger Ukraine's energy security and Ukrainian consumers. If we see continued pressure from Gazprom, our response will be adequate and asymmetric.
Naftogaz officials have also said there will be no immediate reductions for Ukrainian consumers. Nevertheless, we're already getting reports from the Kirovohrad region in Ukraine, where it's been reported that hospitals and schools have been cut off from gas supplies.
I'd like to come back to you now, if I may, Leah Ferguson at Gazprom headquarters in Moscow. This situation developing quickly. Can you give us an insight briefly into the background to this dispute, please?
Well, Gazprom has many times threatened to cut gas supplies to Ukraine, but this is the second time it actually has fulfilled its threat, the first time being back in January 2006. We saw the first cut this time round on Monday morning. That was a cut of 25% of gas supplies to Ukraine. Then Gazprom threatened to cut a further 25% on Tuesday evening. We have yet to receive confirmation whether they have actually gone through with this threat, but it seems highly likely that they will. Gazprom is saying that Ukraine is refusing to settle debts of $600 million. That's for that's money it owes to Gazprom for gas supplied so far this year. It's also refusing to sign new contracts for gas in 2008. Now, this action has come despite the fact Ukrainian President Viktor Yushchenko met with Vladimir Putin 2 weeks ago, and they said that all disputes had been resolved. Moscow had agreed to Ukrainian demands to replace two intermediary gas trading companies with what, Ukraine wanted more transparent companies there. But despite this agreement that this will happen, Ukraine has refused to sign any further contracts. So Gazprom is saying that it just cannot continue to supply gas to Ukraine if it's not being paid for. Gazprom says that this is purely that they want to protect their own economic interests, and despite some Ukrainians thinking that this might be Gazprom fulfilling or pursuing a political agenda, Gazprom has specifically said that it is not political, it is purely a commercial dispute.
Yes, Yulia Popova in Ukraine tonight. What is going on here? We're hearing that the President of Ukraine says he wants to get this sorted out very quickly. Indeed, he sent the Prime Minister here to sort it out, but that's not happened. What's going on? Some are even saying, aren't they, that this is some problem within Ukraine's internal politics. Do you think there are any justifications for those allegations?
Well, there are clear signs that at the heart of this dispute there's an internal disagreement between President Yushchenko and Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko. The Prime Minister has vowed to eliminate gas traders from the gas relations between Ukraine and Russia. However, President Yushchenko showed unwillingness to get rid of intermediaries altogether. Since then, they have been at each other's throat because of these because of the energy situation. Also, the members of Parliament today have openly criticized them both for trying and lobbying their own interests with this scandal. Political analysts speculate that President Yushchenko may have been the one who instigated the gas dispute in order to remove Prime Minister Tymoshenko from office. Well, they have been there before. In 2005, President Yushchenko fired Yulia Tymoshenko for alleged corruption and economic failures. And we are getting signs there may be a no-confidence vote very soon.
Yulia, coming back to you shortly for more on this, I'd like to bring in now a guest that we've got lined up. For now, ladies, thank you very much for your input this evening. Well, meantime, the European Commission is growing concerned about the possible problems with gas supply, and it's urging Moscow and Kiev to find a solution quickly. Let's talk to another guest now, William Ramsey, Deputy Executive Director of the International Energy Agency, joining us live. Evening to you, sir. Now, has Europe learned a lesson, if any could be learned from 2006, I guess, that it's the transit countries like Ukraine that are endangering energy security of Russia's consumers in Europe, not Russia itself?
Well, I think it's hard to reach that conclusion. We've heard the Russians say that they're not going to have any of this cascade downstream into the European customers, but then we've heard the Ukrainians say they'll try their best. So European customers necessarily are still nervous until this issue is resolved.
That Europe can influence Ukraine, though, to bring it back to the legal framework, to stop it threatening Russia's European consumers with cut-offs. Russia is saying tonight these are two separate issues. The contract for transit through Ukraine, completely different to the fact that Ukraine not paying its bills for its own gas.
You know, we don't try to get into the nature of the commercial dispute between Russia and Ukraine. There are so many details, so many layers, so many things that we don't know that we don't try to make a judgment on that. What we are saying is there are gas contracts between European consumers and Russia, and it's important for Russia to keep and Ukraine to keep their commercial disputes out of the pipes of the downstream customers. It's as simple as that.
Well, how concerned is Europe tonight?
Well, because it's been a relatively mild winter, because inventories and stocks are relatively good, I don't think Europe is particularly concerned tonight. They could be tomorrow or the day after. This is late winter, and stocks will have been run down some, so they wouldn't be able to tolerate a significant disruption for very long. On the other hand, we have listened to this kind of sound and light show before, and in general there are resolutions at the 11th hour or the 11th hour in 58 minutes.
So what does this do for the reputation of Ukraine, indeed for the reputation of Russia in European eyes?
Frankly, if even no single cubic meter of gas is disrupted from European supplies, from European customers, all of this has got to raise in the minds of Europeans that they need greater security of supply, they need greater diversity of supply, they need more assurances from their suppliers that their suppliers will resolve commercial disputes with their transit states in courts or on the table and not in the pipelines.
Okay, well, William Ramsey, Executive Director at the International Energy Agency, thanks for coming on the programme tonight. It's appreciated.